Item number 4, communication from the Chair.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, accompanied by the First Lady, Mama Janet Kataha Museveni, who also doubles to be the Minister of Education and Sports, Her Excellency, the Vice President, retired Major Lupo Jessica Epel, His Lordship, the Honorable Chief Justice, Honorable Chigamoy Alphonse Owiny-Dollo, the Right Honorable Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Right Honorable Thomas Tayebwa, the Right Honorable Prime Minister and Leader of Government Business, together with your deputies, the Right Honorable Leader of Opposition in Parliament, Honorable Joel Senyonyi, the Cabinet Ministers and Ministers of State, Your Excellency, the Commissioners, Ambassadors, and members of the Diplomatic Corps, Honorable Members of Parliament of Uganda and the East African Legislative Assembly, the Vice Chairman of the National Resistance Party, Alhaj Moses Chigongo, members of the Central Executive Committee of NRM Party, the Secretary General of the National Resistance Movement, Right Honorable Richard Trodong, the former national leaders present, traditional and cultural leaders present, the religious leaders who are present here, the Inspector General of Government, IG, Honorable Betty Olive Namisango Kamia, the Chairperson of the Constitutional Commissions, the Head of Public Service and Secretary to Cabinet, Madame Lucy Nachobe, the Auditor General, Mr. Akol Edward, members of the Constitutional Commission, permanent secretaries present, the Chief of Defense Forces, General Muhosi, the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Baz Byakagaba, the Commissioner General of Prisons, Dr. Canon Johnson, the Governor of Bank of Uganda, Dr. Tinyego, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to the second sitting of the 5th session of 11th Parliament. You may recall that last week on 5th June 2025, Parliament hosted His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda, General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, at the official state opening of the 5th session of 11th Parliament, during which His Excellency delivered a remarkable address on the state of nation. I take this opportunity to acknowledge and thank His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda for fulfilling his constitutional obligation as enshrined in Article 101, Sub-Article 1 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. Today, we are once again immensely gratified to host His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, who is here to deliver the budget speech for financial year 2025-2026 in fulfillment of his constitutional obligation under Article 155, Sub-Article 1 of the 1995 Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, which states that the President shall cause to be prepared and laid before Parliament in each financial year, but in any case, not later than 15th day before the commencement of the financial year, the estimates of revenue and expenditure of government for the next financial year. Honorable members, today's budget speech is a culmination of the participatory budget process, which involves various stakeholders as guided by the 1995 Constitution, the Public Finance Management Act 2015, the National Audit Act 2008, the National Audit Act, the Local Government Act 1997. This participatory budget process is an avenue of the citizen involvement in policy decisions, resource prioritization and allocation, and the monitoring of the public expenditure. As a people-centered parliament, we commend the various stakeholders for making their input in the national budget, and we urge them to sustain the civic awareness and responsibility during the actual budget execution and accountability as well. Your Excellency, the Parliament of Uganda is cognizant of the people participation as a cornerstone for deepening democracy, which is a standing governance principle for our beloved nation. Your Excellency and honorable members, allow me to highlight some of the key milestones achieved by legislature during the budget consideration process. Pursuant to Section 9, 5, and 8 of the Public Finance Management Act 2015 and Rule 145 of the Rules of Procedure, the House approved the National Budget Framework Paper 2025-2026, 2029-2030 on the 30th day of January 2025. 2. Pursuant to Section 12 of the Public Finance Management Act 2015 and Rule 152 of Rules of Procedure, Parliament approved a ministerial policy statement for financial year 2025-2026 during the period of 9th to 16th April 2025. Pursuant to Section 8 of the Public Finance Management Act 2015 and Rule 157 of the Rules of Procedure, Parliament passed 7 tax and revenue bills on 13th and 14th May to enable the realization of revenue to finance the national budget for financial year 2025-2026. In furtherance to Section 14 of the Public Finance Management Act 2015 and Rule 158 and Rule 159 of the Rules of Parliament, Parliament approved the national budget for the financial year 2025-2026 on 15th day of May 2025. Your Excellency, the efficiency and effectiveness of legislature is as a result of constructive engagement between legislature, executive, and judiciary, as well as the relevant stakeholders. I take this opportunity to greatly appreciate all the honorable members of Parliament, the front bench, the shadow cabinet, and all the stakeholders for their dedication throughout the budgeting process and ensuring that we do not only meet the legal and constitutional timeline, but also adequately interrogate the budget. Your Excellency, without preempting your speech on this day, I would like to highlight the salient issues that arose during the budget consideration process. 1, the need to strengthen the oversight over wealth creation funds, notably the parish development model, the youth livelihood, UWEP, SAGE, so that the funds actually reach their intended beneficiaries and attain the desired impact. 2, to strengthen the implementation and oversight of high-impact projects under the NDP4 so that the intended objectives are achieved. These high-impact projects are what we previously referred to in NDP3 as the core projects. 3, to strengthen the commitment control in budget execution by compelling the accounting officers to commit to the actual budgets and work plans as approved. This is important for budget discipline. 4, the minimization of supplementary budgets and the need to adherence to Section 25(7) of the Public Finance Management Act 2015 to limit supplementary budget requests to items that are absorbable, unavoidable, and unforeseeable. 5, the need to adequately plan and resource efficiency management measures to address the prevailing debt burden. The need to increase public investment in productive growth areas such as a MIOGA, parish development model, the 4-acre prosperity model, and deepen the financial inclusion and aid the growth of taxable formal sector so as to widen the tax base and improve on the tax to GDP ratio. Your Excellency, in the spirit of fostering regional integration, Parliament is cognizant of the need for deliberate reforms in customs and migrations. These requirements and procedures are in order to eliminate the non-tariff barriers and ease the movement of people, goods, and services across the East African community. The need for deliberate intervention to enhance the human capital development as a way of strengthening the competitiveness of Ugandan population. Your Excellency and members, as we embark on financial year 2025-2026, I call upon the accounting officers to ensure the prudent, efficient, and effective utilization of public resources, and that is pursuant to Section 21 and 45 of the Public Finance Management Act 2015. Your Excellency and honorable members, Article 83, Sub-Article 2A of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda permits members of Parliament to leave and join political parties or political organizations of their choice within 12 months before the end of term of Parliament in order to participate in activities or programs for political parties or political organizations relating to the general elections. I am in receipt of notification from the following members of Parliament who have left the Forum for Democratic Change, FDC, and opted to join the People Front for Freedom, PFF. Honorable Semujo Ibrahim, MP Kira Municipality. Honorable Kabusu Moses, MP Chamuswa County. Honorable Nakato Asinansi, the woman MP of Hoima City. Honorable Kamara Nicholas Tadewas, MP Kavali Municipality. Honorable Katshabe Atkins Godfrey, MP Bukonjo County West. Honorable Mohindo Harold Tony, MP Bukonjo County East. Honorable Namanya Nabo, MP Rubabu County. Honorable Mujiche Francis, MP Buhesh County. Honorable Awol Betty Ochan, Gulu City Woman Member of Parliament. We extend our best wishes to the members as they exercise their freedom of association as enshrined in Article 29 of the 1995 Constitution that we sought to uphold. Your Excellency, the President, and honorable members, and distinguished guests, I say all this for God and my country.
Item number 5, presentation of the budget speech by His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda.
Honourable members, I have been duly notified by the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, who will deliver the budget speech on behalf of His Excellency the President, and thereafter the President will also give his remarks, additional remarks to what has been delivered. I now want to invite the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development to deliver the budget speech. Honourable Minister.
Your Excellency, the President of Uganda, Your Excellency, the Vice President, Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, Your Lordship, the Chief Justice, Right Honorable Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Your Lordship, the Deputy Chief Justice, the Vice Chairman of the NRM Party, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, Right Honorable Deputy Prime Ministers, Honorable Ministers, Your Excellencies and the Ambassadors and the heads of diplomatic missions, Honorable Members of Parliament, former national leaders, cultural leaders, religious leaders, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Madam Speaker, in fulfillment of Article 155, Part 1 of the Constitution, and on behalf of His Excellency the President, I present to Parliament and the people of Uganda the budget for financial year 2025-26 as approved by Parliament. Madam Speaker, in this speech, I will, 1, provide accountability to the people of Uganda on the performance of the commitments made by the NRM government for the first half of the Uganda Vision 2040. 2, present the recent performance of the economy and outlook. 3, account to the people of Uganda on the commitments that government made for financial 24-25 that is coming to an end in a few days, and the private areas of the budget for financial year 25-26. 4, highlight the financing strategy of the financial year 25-26 budget. Now, accountability of the performance of the commitments made by the NRM government for the first half of Uganda Vision 2040. Madam Speaker, let me first congratulate His Excellency the President on his leadership that has built a resilient, stable, transformative, and competitive economy that is attractive to investors. Obugalo. Uganda is among the fastest growing economies in the world and is projected to become the fastest growing by 2031, according to the Harvard Growth Club. This is despite the various domestic, regional, and global shocks that have impacted us in the recent years. The growth is on account of a unique economic ideology championed by His Excellency the President, which is built on the 4 principles of socio-economic transformation, patriotism, Pan-Africanism, and democracy. Madam Speaker, the first half of Uganda Vision 2024 started in 2010 with implementation of the first 5-year National Development Plan and thereafter NDP 2 and NDP 3, which ends this financial year. The initial years of the NRM government before 2010, we dedicated to restoring sustainable peace, recovering and stabilizing a broken economy, addressing extreme poverty, and implementing reforms that liberalized the economy and created an environment for private sector to flourish. We are now in the phase of socio-economic transformation to facilitate wealth creation and prosperity. Your Excellency, I thank and commend you for this. Madam Speaker, the budget for financial year 2025-26 will conclude the implementation of the current NRM manifesto and start the implementation of the 4th National Development Plan. For the next 15 years, the successive national development plans will implement the 10-fold economic growth strategy. This strategy aims to expand the size of the economy to US$ 500 billion by 2040 from US$ 61.3 billion estimated this financial year 24-25. Madam Speaker, over the accountability period, government has undertaken targeted investments that have built a firm foundation and strengthened the resilience of our economy. I wish to highlight the following achievements. 1, total peace, security of person and property, political stability have been the foundation upon which sustained high economic growth and wealth creation to be built. 2, the economy more than tripled to shillings 226.3 trillion Uganda shillings, equivalent to US$ 61.3 billion this financial year 24-25, from shillings 64.8 trillion, equivalent to US$ 27.9 billion in financial 2010-2011. In March 2024, Uganda met the criteria for graduation from the category of least development countries. Let me repeat this. In March 2024, Uganda met the criteria for graduation from the category of least developed countries. 4, life expectancy has improved to 68.2 years in financial year 23-24 from 63.3 years in 2010-11 and from 50.4 years in 2002. This has been partly driven by improvements in access to health services, massive immunization campaigns that reduced disease prevalence and child mortality. 5, the population living within a 5-kilometer radius of a health facility is now 91% from about 8% in financial year 2010-2011. And 81% of parishes now have government-aided schools. 6, poverty has decreased by 16.1% in financial 2023-24 from 24.5% in financial year 2010-2011. In addition, Madam Speaker, persons in the subsistence economy reduced to 33% in financial year 23-24 from 69% in financial year 2010-2011. Madam Speaker, Uganda is becoming a more equal society. The results of the National Household Survey released by the Uganda Bureau of Statistics last month show that income inequality has declined significantly in the past 4 years. The Gini coefficient, which is a statistical measure used to determine the extent of income inequality within a population, has reduced to 36% from 41% in 2020. 8, Madam Speaker, Ugandans can now connect to all borders on tarmac and reach all parts of the country, east, west, south, north, by tarmac or improved Madam roads. 9. Installed electricity generation capacity increased fourfold to 2,051 megawatts in financial year 23-24 from 595 megawatts in financial year 2010-2011. Consequently, the proportion of the population with access to electricity increased fivefold to 57% in financial year 23-24 from 11% in financial year 2011. The percentage of the population subscribed to the internet rose to 53% in 2022 from 1.8% in 2010, and the national ICT backbone infrastructure extended to 4,300 kilometers in financial year 22-23 from 1,380 kilometers in financial year 2010-2011. The economy has diversified from the traditional 3 C's, which are coffee, cotton, copper, and 3 T's, which are tobacco, tea, and tourism, to a more sophisticated economy. For example, Uganda has added 31 new products to its export basket in the last 15 years, including light manufactured products such as steel, processed food, cement, pharmaceuticals, dairy products, ceramics, and clothes. The number of manufacturing units, factories of various sizes, has increased by about 18,000 from 31,757 in 2010-2011 to 50,000 in financial year 2023-24. As a result, this has increased the share of manufactured exports significantly. Madam Speaker, Uganda's economy has been able to achieve all these milestones on account of the right strategy of the NRM government. Let me repeat. Madam Speaker, Uganda's economy has been able to achieve all these milestones on account of the right strategy of the NRM government. Madam Speaker, since the necessary foundation has already been established by intentionally prioritizing investments in infrastructure, the speed of economic transformation is destined to be faster in the medium term. Madam Speaker, the budget for next financial year and over the medium term is focused on people and wealth creation. Consequently, theme of the next financial year, 25-26, remains full monetization of Uganda's economy through commercial agriculture, industrialization, expanding and broadening services, and digital transformation and market access. Recent economic performance and outlook. Madam Speaker, our economy has strengthened its resilience to domestic and external shocks and is estimated to grow by 6.3% this financial year 24-25. This is after recording growth of 8.6% in the third quarter of this financial year. Last financial year 23-24, the economy grew by 6.1%. In nominal terms, the size of the economy is estimated at shillings 226.3 trillion, equivalent to US dollars 61.3 billion in financial year 24-25, rising from shillings 203.7 trillion, equivalent to US dollars 53.9 billion in financial year 23-24. This is equivalent to US dollars 174.2 billion in purchasing power parity terms. My economists will tell you what that means. 12, Madam Speaker, this growth has broad-based, including this growth was broad-based, including in agriculture, industry, and services like ICT. This was on account of continued implementation of government interventions and sound fiscal and monetary policies that have supported private sector investment. Madam Speaker, the impressive economic performance has been driven by His Excellency the President's commitment and deliberate investment in wealth creation initiatives. I thank His Excellency the President for setting the tone and for providing leadership and direction. Madam Speaker, government has invested over shillings 9 trillion in key wealth creation initiatives over the last 10 years. These include Uganda Development Bank, 4.45 trillion, the Parish Development Model, shillings 3.3 trillion by end of financial year 24-25, Emioga, shillings 553 billion, the Youth Livelihood Program, shillings 207.95 billion, the Small Business Recovery Fund, shillings 100 billion, the Agricultural Credit Facility, shillings 495 billion, the Youth Venture Capital Fund, shillings 12.5 billion, Uganda Women Entrepreneurship Program, shillings 168 billion, the Invite Project, shillings 800 billion, the Grow Project, shillings 824 billion, and Uganda Development Corporation, 1.2 trillion, among others. Madam Speaker, the economy is expected to grow faster by at least 7% next financial year, 25-26, and to double digits at the onset of oil and gas production. The size of the economy is projected to expand to shillings 254.2 trillion, equivalent to US dollars 66.1 billion in financial year 25-26. This will translate into a higher GDP per capita of US dollars 1,000. Let me repeat this. This will translate into a higher GDP per capita of US dollar 1,324 next financial year compared to US dollars 1,263 GDP estimated for this financial year ending the 30th June this year. Inflation. Madam Speaker, inflation is under control. For the year ending May 2025, the speed at which prices of goods and services rose slowed to 3.4% compared to 4.1% in the same period of the year ago. The slower pace of the increase in domestic prices was due to good export performance and FDI inflows, which led to a stable shilling, increased food production driven by good weather and the parish development model, and the close coordination of the fiscal and monetary policies. In addition, a reduction in the global prices of petroleum products also contributed to the lower prices. The country has been able to benefit from these lower global prices because of the direct importation of petroleum products by the Uganda National Oil Company, UNOC, which removed middlemen in the petroleum supply chain. Therefore, inflation is expected to remain below the policy target of 5% per annum. Now, exchange rates. Madam Speaker, despite global uncertainties, the Uganda shilling has been among the few most stable currencies in Africa. Can I repeat? Madam Speaker, despite global uncertainties, the Uganda shilling has been among the few most stable currencies in Africa. The shilling appreciated by 4% year on year in April 2025 compared to the same month in 2024. Uganda's shilling has been ranked the most stable currency in Africa, according to the International Financial Statistics Division of the IMF. This resilience is due to good export performance, strong inflows of foreign direct investment, and tourism receipts. Now, interest rates. Madam Speaker, the price of money has reduced to an average of 17.7% per year in March 2025 from 18.1% in November 2024. This decline was partly driven by a slight reduction in the Bank of Uganda's reference interest rate and increased lending at lower interest rates to lower risk borrowers. Private sector credit. Madam Speaker, the stock of private sector credit grew to shillings 23.3 trillion in March 2025 from shillings 21.9 trillion in June 2024. This represents growth of 6%. Although this is low, it is expected to increase as private sector activity and household demand continues to recover. Madam Speaker, contrary to conventional economics that government borrowing crowds out private sector credit, Uganda's government borrowing has instead availed cheaper and patient capital to the private sector engaged in wealth creation initiatives. Government borrows from commercial banks at relatively high rates and avails financing to the private sector in strategic sectors at relatively low or no interest rates. Government has provided direct credit to the private sector and household to supplement credit from commercial banks and other financial institutions through PDM, emyoga, youth and women livelihood funds, women enterprise support funds totaling shillings 9.1 trillion, which is equivalent to 3.6% of total domestic economic output in financial 24-25. External sector development. Madam Speaker, total exports of goods and services for the 12 months of March 2025 is US dollars 11.8 billion from US dollars 9.56 billion for the same period in year 2024. Of this, exports of goods were US dollars 9.3 billion for the same period, up from 7.3 billion in March 2024, representing growth of 26%. The top exports include gold, US dollar 3.698 billion, coffee, US dollars 1.83 billion, which alone had an annual average growth of 84.9%. Industrial products, 626.5 US dollars million, cocoa beans, US dollars 410.8 million, milk products, US dollars 285 million, base metals and products, US dollars 230.6 million, sugar, US dollars 186.5 million, fish and fish products, US dollars 107.7 million, maize, US dollars 86.37 million, and other agricultural products like tea, tobacco, cotton, beans, fruits, vegetables, flowers, simsim, sesame, nuts, vanilla, and other grains, giving US dollars 575.9 million. Madam Speaker, this financial year, for the first time in the history of Uganda, coffee exports earnings not only exceeded the $1 billion mark, but are on track to double to US dollars 2 billion per year. While it took the country more than a century to reach US dollars 1 billion earnings per annum from coffee, it has taken just 1 year to double these earnings. This is an example of the kind of economic leap envisioned under the 10-fold growth strategy. I therefore implore Ugandans to grow more coffee and, most importantly, add value to our coffee before we export it for higher earnings. Madam Speaker, for the year ending March 2025, the Middle East was Uganda's top export destination, followed by the East African Community, Asia, and the European Union. Uganda recorded large trade surpluses with the Middle East worth US dollars 186.3 million, and the European Union worth US dollars 117.7 million. The main export commodities to these markets were coffee, industrial, and mineral products. Madam Speaker, I wish to note that His Excellency the President, Madam Speaker, I wish to note that His Excellency the President's message and deliberate strategy of increasing the share of manufactured exports in total exports has started producing positive results. New research by the Harvard Economic Growth Lab shows that Uganda has become more complex for its level of income. This means that while earnings from traditional exports like coffee are significantly increasing, their contribution to the total export basket is declining. New products that require more advanced production technology than that expected for our level of income are contributing an increasing share of our total exports. According to the study, in the last 15 years, Uganda added 31 new products to its export basket. Among these are ICT equipment, serums and vaccines, medicines, new pneumatic tires, batteries, gas turbines, electric integrated circuits, transmission apparatus for radio, telephone and TV, measuring instruments, and instruments for physical and chemical analysis, and light manufactured products such as steel, processed food, cement, pharmaceuticals, dairy products, ceramics, and cloth. The country also has an opportunity of harnessing the production of 50 new complex products which are referred to as strategic bets. Tourism and foreign direct investment. Madam Speaker, tourism earnings have grown by 13.1% to US dollars 1.52 billion in 12 months to March 2025 from US dollars 1.36 billion during the same period in 2024. This impressive growth is attributed to the sustainable peace, increased competitiveness of Uganda's tourism industry, and government investment in strategic tourism infrastructure, including Uganda Airlines, remittances from Ugandans living and working abroad were US dollars 1.4 billion 12 months to March 2025, compared to US dollars 1.33 billion in the same period in 2024. Madam Speaker, Uganda has maintained its top ranking as one of the best investment destinations in Africa. Let me repeat this. Madam Speaker, Uganda has maintained its top ranking as one of the best investment destinations in Africa. Foreign direct investments were worth US dollar 3.4 billion in 12 months to March 2025, compared to US dollars 2.99 billion during the same period in 2024. This performance was due to improved competitiveness of our economy. Fiscal performance. Madam Speaker, revenue collection is projected at shilling 31.9 trillion this financial year ending June 2025, equivalent to about 14.3% of total domestic economic output or GDP. Total expenditure outturn is estimated at shillings 51.53 trillion this financial year, excluding Bank of Uganda securities and domestic financing date rollover. The budget deficit is estimated at 7.2% of GDP. Madam Speaker, government plans to collect shillings 37.2 trillion in domestic revenue next financial year 25-26. This will finance about 60% of the national budget. The rest of the budget will be financed through borrowing and grants. Madam Speaker, government has stepped up efforts to mobilize domestic revenue. Going forward, emphasis will be put on the following. 1, broadening the tax base through strategic investment in the opportunities in agro-industry, tourism, minerals, including oil and gas, science, technology, and innovation, including ICT, as well as interventions that support wealth creation and the growth of small and medium enterprises. Eliminating corruption at URA through punishing corrupt officers and taxpayers who collude with URA staff, as well as leveraging digital platforms to minimize human interaction. 3, enhancing implementation of electronic fiscal receipting and invoicing solutions, which is progression EFRIS, digital tax stamps, rental tax solution, and regular audits, especially for transfer pricing. Combating smuggling at border points through extended surveillance using advanced technologies like scanners, drones, and tracking systems with increased patrols in high-risk areas. Rationalizing tax exemptions to focus on only those that support industrial policy and introducing sunset clauses. Amending tax laws to close loopholes that cause revenue leakage and providing clarity to encourage voluntary compliance. Strengthening URA, including recruitment and training of tax officers to effectively administer tax collection, and supporting local governments and revenue-generating public entities to increase revenue collection. Accountability for financial 24-25 and priorities for the financial 2025-26. Madam Speaker, when I delivered the budget speech for financial 24-25, I made several commitments on government expenditure priorities for the financial year. In February 2025, I presented a detailed semi-annual budget performance report of this financial year to Parliament in line with the law. In this section, I provide the highlights of what government has achieved this financial year to date. Madam Speaker, with respect to investing in people of Uganda, the following has been achieved. Let me repeat. Madam Speaker, with respect to investing in the people of Uganda, the following has been achieved. Health. Madam Speaker, during this period, this financial year 24-25, the following milestones have been achieved in the health sector. 1. Government continued to invest in saving the lives of Ugandans by providing shillings 721 billion for healthcare supplies, general and essential medicines under the national medical stores. This included additional financing of shillings 100 billion for essential medicines, shillings 116.8 billion for RRVs, shillings 2.9 billion for anti-malaria medicines, shillings 17.8 billion for immunization supplies, and shillings 52.3 billion for laboratory supplies, and shillings 2.1 billion for anti-TB drugs. Government continued to improve healthcare infrastructure and equipment. For example, we completed, equipped, and commissioned 3 regional blood banks in Hoima, Arua, and Soroti, operationalized 16 high-capacity oxygen plants across key regional referral hospitals, continued infrastructure development and equipping of the 2 specialized centers for cancer and cardiovascular care, infrastructure development of Lubowa Specialized Hospital is now at 68% progress, and training of the specialists is ongoing. Constructed new maternity wards and the staff houses in the health center 2s that are being upgraded to health center 3s, distributed 20 digital X-ray machines to general hospitals, and installed CT scans in 14 out of 16 regional referral hospitals. Government implemented interventions for preventive health care, for disease prevention and promotion of healthy lifestyles. For example, trained and deployed community health extension workers across the country to deliver essential health education on hygiene and sanitation, nutrition and disease prevention, and to support routine immunization effort. Undertook residual spraying in 13 districts, which protected the lives of 2.7 billion people and 560,000 households against malaria, and introduced the malaria vaccine into the extended program on immunization targeting children under 5 years of age. He improved the digitization of healthcare services by extending connectivity of the electronic medical record system in 4 national referral hospitals and 16 regional referral hospitals. This has improved patient record management, drug dispensing, and monitoring the attendance of health workers. Strengthened the national ambulance and emergency care system by providing additional ambulances to improve the national emergency response and referral system. Madam Speaker, to further improve the health of Ugandans, a total of shillings 5.87 trillion has been provided in next financial year 25-26. The priority intervention will include 1, functionalizing health centers, 4, 2, strengthening primary health care and community health services, 3, scale up of national e-health infrastructure, 4, promotion of nutrition and education and reproductive health, 5, continued deployment of community health extension workers, 6, strengthening the national ambulance and emergency referral system, and 7, construction of specialized health facilities for cancer and cardiovascular care. Now, education. Madam Speaker, the following milestones have been achieved in the education sector. 1, provided access to universal primary education for 9.2 million learners and 905,116 learners under universal secondary education.
Minister, for record, it is 9.52.
Oh, 4.52. Well, my officers have misled me. And I close that one. 2, over 5,192 students, both on degree and diploma programs, benefited from higher education students loan financing scheme. In addition, 4,000 learners benefited from government sponsorship joining public universities. 3, a total of 166 seed schools have been constructed under the UGIFID program. 4, in preparation for CHAN and ACFON 27, government has so far spent shillings 496.8 billion for the construction of Hoima and Akibua stadia, as well as the associated training facilities across the country. Government will spend a total of shillings 1.3 trillion to get these facilities completed. In addition, Mandela National Stadium has been upgraded, and government commissioned the National High Altitude Training Center, Teriyet, in Kapchorwa. In order to improve compliance with quality standards, government digitalized school inspections in all public schools and certificate awarding technical, vocational education and training institutions. To improve the qualifications and skills of primary school teachers to meet the new minimum education requirement of degree level, government has established the Uganda National Institute for Teacher Education, Unite, So far, Unite has enrolled 1,000 students across 5 campuses and has been supported to undertake staff recruitment and take over the operations of 23 primary teachers' colleges to upgrade certificate teachers to diploma level. Rolled out the abridged A-level curriculum to implement the competence-based curriculum for A-level. A total of 357 120 learners successfully completed the 4-year cycle under the new lower secondary educational curriculum and are transitioning to the new A-level curriculum. Implemented the TVET reform to increase industry participation in TVET training and delivery. A new TVET council, sector skills council, and the secretariat have been established with representation from various sectors. Madam Speaker, next financial year, I have provided 5.04 trillion for priority interventions, which include 1, continuing to provide free education to Ugandans under UPE, USE, and universal post-O-level education and training. 2, providing sponsorship and student loans for higher education. 3, rehabilitation of 120 traditional secondary schools and 31 special need primary schools. 4, construction of 106 new seed schools and expansion of 61 existing secondary schools. 5, recruitment of more teachers and non-teaching staff. 6, strict enforcement of teachers and learners inspection across the country using an electronic system. 7, providing textbooks and instructional materials to improve the textbook to student ratio to 1.13 from the current 1 to 1.15. Operationalization of Bunyoro and Busoga universities, and completion of the ongoing construction of stadia and training facilities ahead of Chan and as AFCON 27, as I've said before. Social protection. Madam Speaker, to keep our senior citizens healthy and to actively participate in socio-economic activities, government has divided shillings 811 billion, benefiting 4,905,702 older persons across the country under the social assistance grants for the elderly program, SAGE. In addition, 1,741 older persons group enterprises have been funded with government grants worth 5.5 billion, benefiting 11,644 older persons under the Special Enterprise Grant for Older Persons Program, SEGOP. Other social protection intervention which government has supported include the following: Youth Livelihood Program, a total of 24,228 youth enterprises have been funded to the tune of 191.336 billion, benefiting 274,211 youth.
271,211. Not 270.
I have read it wrong. Let me repeat. 271,211 youth. The enterprises are in agriculture, 30%, trade, 38%, trade, 32%, other services, 19%, and others, 11%. Uganda Women Entrepreneurship Program, WEP. Government has financed 21,948 women group enterprises, benefiting 235 million, 114 women. National special grant for persons with disability to address high vulnerability and poverty levels among persons with disability. Government has supported 8,107 enterprises, benefiting to 50,900 person.
59,901.
59,901 persons with disabilities. Madam Speaker, I have provided an additional shillings 404.9 billion for social protection next financial year 2025-26. Water, sanitation, and environmental protection. Madam Speaker, to improve the quality of life, government continues to invest in the provision of safe water, improve sanitation, and ensure protection of the environment. These include the following. 1. Villages in Uganda with at least one safe water source have remarkably increased to 8 out of every 10 villages. Nationwide, 57,951 villages out of 71,225 have been served with a safe water source. 2. Completed the construction of 259 medium and large solar-powered water supply and sanitation systems and gravity flow schemes across the country. 3. Construction of 42 large solar-powered water supply systems is ongoing in Agago, Yumbe, Amudat, Kabong, Kasese, Kakumiro, Sembabule, Kisoro, Rubanda, Mbulamuti, Bulambuli, Kienkwanzi, Mubende, Kiegegwa, Buyende, Nakaseke, Namayingo, Rakai, and Buvuma. With regard to clean water, construction of pipe-to-town water supply systems is ongoing in 32 towns. These include Namasale, Kakingo, Kamuli, Ngoma Town, Lunya, Karogo, Phase 2, Ishaka, Mobilizing, Nyakashaka, Bukumi, Kanapa, and Odongei. Construction is also ongoing in Parabekar, Rhino Camp, Aradufile, Lubeli Refugee Settlement, Bulori, Nyanseke, Busale, Kibuzi, and expansion in 2 towns of Kiboga and Zigoti. Other beneficial towns are Lamuo, Lacheskot, Ir, Lorenga Kora, Chora, Manafwa, Butaleja Busorwe, Terinyi, Kibuku, Kadama, Budaka, Kaliro, Namungarwe, Lukungiri, and Obongi. Construction of various water supply systems in 26 districts is at varying levels of physical progress. These include Manafwa Town Council and installation of solar packages that is ongoing in Loslang, Kasao, Phase 1, Kaburabwizi Phase 1, Bukumi, Bulangira and Kyebando, Kasimbi and Busale town. Also, government is starting the development of new piped water supply systems in Rwanda, Kabale, Albetong, Nakasongola, Kamuli districts, among others. Madam Speaker, I have provided an additional shillings 366.1 billion next financial year for water resource management, climate change mitigation, natural resources, and environment. The priority interventions include construction of water supply infrastructure to increase service in the underserved communities in rural, urban, and refugee settlements, increasing rehabilitation and expansion of existing water, sanitation, and hygiene infrastructure, and increasing forest and wetland cover. Madam Speaker, overall, I have allocated a total of shillings 11.44 trillion next financial year towards investing in the people of Uganda through health, education, social protection, and water and sanitation. Now, wealth creation programs. Madam Speaker, wealth creation programs have proved effective in integrating lower-income Ugandans into the economy. As already reported, poverty and inequality have reduced thanks to the following opportunity equalizing initiatives that government has implemented. Parish development model. Madam Speaker, by 30th June this year, a total of shillings 3.3 trillion will have been transferred to 10,589 parishes across the country to transform the household still in subsistence to join the money economy. Each parish gets shillings 100,000 per year. So far, the PDM funds have reached 2.63 million beneficiaries in all districts and the parishes. The beneficiaries have invested 45% of the money in cash and food crops such as maize, cassava, onions, bananas, and Irish potatoes, 36% in livestock such as piggery, goats, beef cattle, dairy cattle, and sheep, 12% in poultry, and 6% in other enterprises. These investments are changing the lives of Ugandans by boosting household incomes, enhancing food security, and creating employment opportunities at local level countrywide. Madam Speaker, PDM operations have been fully digitized to ensure secure and smooth flow of the government grants directly from the National Treasury to the beneficiaries. Government using the National Identification Number, NIN, and the PDM information system to identify the beneficiaries, the Wendy application to send the money, and the Zaidi application to monitor and ensure that the money goes to the right beneficiaries and that they are using it to finance the right enterprises. This has enhanced efficiency and convenience in access and helped to reduce corruption in the PDM operations. Effective next year, every parish chief will make use of the PDMs to prepare an annual report on the state of their parish economy and asset register, the SPEAR report. This report will enable tracking of progress towards full monetization of the economy for every parish. Madam Speaker, I have provided an additional 1.059 trillion next financial year 25-26 for further capitalization of the PDM. This will avail an additional shillings 100 million per parish for households that have not yet benefited from the PDM. Government has also provided money to pay for the bank charges to ensure that beneficiaries receive the full amount of shillings 1 million each. Government is also providing a grant of 500,000 shillings for persons with disability over and above the loan of 1 shilling million to cater for the additional access requirements. Madam Speaker, in order to add value to and guarantee markets for PDM outputs, government has stepped up investment in agro-industry through vertical and horizontal value addition. This is targeting production of higher value multi-input products such as nutritional foods, baby foods that use several products like milk, eggs, and maize, and fruits and vegetables. Now, agricultural credit facility. Madam Speaker, government has injected a total of shillings 413.4 billion in the SEF since its establishment in 2010. In partnership with the participating financial institutions that match the government contribution, this facility has so far provided over 1 trillion in low interest loans by the end of March 2025 to support agricultural productivity, commercial farming, and agricultural value addition. The SF has so far supported 14,336 beneficiaries, of whom 3,531 are smallholder farmers. The loans have financed the following: grain trading, shillings 431.4 billion, 43%. On farm activities, shillings 312.8 billion, 32%. Agro-processing, 166.8 billion, 16%. And post-harvest management, shillings 89 billion, which is 9%. Madam Speaker, I have provided additional capital for the SEF of shillings 50 billion next financial 25-26. This is in addition to the agricultural insurance that benefits all farmers, including PDM beneficiaries. Uganda Development Bank. Madam Speaker, government has cumulatively capitalized UDB to the tune of shillings 1.5 trillion to support industrialization, agricultural commercialization, and acquisition of appropriate technologies to increase productivity. UDB has so far achieved the following. 1, UDB has provided shillings 2.45 trillion to 607 businesses engaged in commercial agriculture, agricultural value addition, manufacturing, tourism, hospitality, education, health services, creatives, and construction industry, and as at the end of December 2024. 2, businesses supported by UDB have created 55,553 jobs, generated out of value of shillings 23 trillion, contributed shillings 944.2 billion in taxes, generated an equivalent of shillings 3.3 trillion in forex earnings, and shillings 3.15 trillion in profits for the private sector businesses supported. UDB has implemented special programs targeting small and medium enterprises and youth and women-owned businesses engaged in wealth creation. This has been done through provision of business development and incubation services. In order to ease access, UDB is opening up regional offices and has supported wealth creation enterprises in 96 districts across all the sub-regions. Madam Speaker, I have now provided an additional shillings 1 trillion for UDB next financial year. We turn to Emyoga. Madam Speaker, in order to boost incomes of Ugandans engaged in specialized trades, Emyoga, particularly in urban and peri-urban centers, government has so far provided a total of shillings 660 billion. This has benefited a total of 2.4 million Ugandans in creating 471,000 jobs and kick-starting a new local economy in value-added enterprises such as winemaking, carpentry, coffee value addition, metal fabrication, tailoring, artisanal products, mechanics, women in markets, restaurants, and services like hair and beauty salons and transport, among others. Madam Speaker, I am providing an additional 100 billion Uganda shillings next financial year to support more Emyoga enterprises as off-takers of PDM outposts. Following enactment of new TVET Act, government will support certification and issuance of practicing permits to competent practitioners benefiting from the Emyoga program. Small Business Recovery Fund, Madam Speaker. This fund was established to support small businesses which were affected by COVID-19 to recover with an initial capital of 100 million shillings, to be matched by commercial banks and other financial institutions. The funding from the SBRF has enabled 3,496 micro, small, and medium enterprises to recover from the effects of COVID-19, saving over 26,672 jobs in the sectors of trade and commerce, hospitality, and education and construction. Madam Speaker, in order to accelerate full monetization of the economy through various wealth creation programs, I have provided shillings 3.05 trillion next financial year, 2025/26. These funds are going to be passed.
2.3 trillion. Next
it is shillings 3.05 trillion. These funds are going to be passed on to Ugandans in wealth creation through PDM, shillings 1.059 trillion, Emyoga, shillings 100 billion, UDB, shillings 1 trillion, Uganda Development Corporation, shillings 187.1 billion, and the Agricultural Credit Facility, shillings 50 billion. Others include GROW, generating growth opportunities and productive for women enterprise, 231.3 billion, Invite, investment for industrial transformation and empowerment, shillings 275.1 billion, presidential zonal industrial hubs and skilling initiatives, shillings 58.5 billion, to turn youth into manufacturers, and support to microfinance, shillings 48.5 billion. Agro-industrialization. Madam Speaker, the interventions in agro-industrialization this financial year and next financial year have prioritized research, increase in productivity, commercialization, and value addition in agriculture. Madam Speaker, some of the key achievements in this financial year include: 1, research and genetics development of selected value chains. The National Animal Genetic Resource Center and the Data Bank has introduced superior animal genetic resources for breeding multiplication and distribution to farming households under PDM. NARO has completed the manufacturing facility for anti-tick vaccines at Nakiesesa in Wakiso district with the capacity to produce over 20 million doses of the anti-tick vaccine per year. NARO has also developed agricultural technologies that increase productivity, such as water-saving cultivation technology, drought-resistant varieties, and integrated pest, disease, and weed control technologies, among others. Research in coffee by Nakori has contributed to increased national coffee production, productivity, and export earnings. Increasing agricultural production and productivity. The capacity of water for irrigation has increased to 54.76 million cubic meters. This is on account of government investment in small and large irrigation systems, including solar-powered irrigation. In particular, 7 large-scale irrigation schemes have been completed. These include Ngenge in Kweni district, Luwengaju in Kabarole, Tochi in Oyam, Mobuktu in Kasese, Olwenyi in Kira, Lira, Doho 2 in Butareja, and Wadley in Pakwach. Another 3 irrigation schemes are currently under construction. These are Akomai in Bukedde district, Atari in Kweni Bulambuli district, and Namatala covering Budaka, Mbale, Butareja districts. Madam Speaker, another 142 solar-powered irrigation and water supply schemes have been completed across the country. In addition, 157 solar-powered irrigation and water supply schemes are under construction. Furthermore, 4,300 micro-scale irrigation facilities were constructed in 135 districts across the country and have benefited smallholder farmers of less than 2.5 acres. Madam Speaker, in addition, government completed Useke Dam in Kabong and Ogunga Dam in Katakwi for livestock, irrigation, and fish farming. In addition, 5,251 small and medium-scale irrigation schemes were established in 135 districts. Madam Speaker, government established 5 zonal agricultural mechanization centers in Malere, Buwama, Bungoko, Ogwata, and Sanga to support equipment access and tractor hire services, procured and distributed 260 assorted 4-wheeled tractors and implements to farmer groups in 60 districts countrywide, 750 power tillers, single axle tractor and implements, and 2 pieces of dredging equipment for water hines and weed control, and trained 2,150 youth and women as operators, artisans, mechanics for tractors and implements. Madam Speaker, beginning this financial year, government introduced the large-scale commercial farmer interest-free credit facility of shillings 175 billion. This facility will help to increase production and productivity for improved food security and export. The loan facility can be accessed through government-owned banks, namely Post Bank, Housing Finance Bank, and Pride Bank Limited. Agricultural value addition and marketing. NARO completed setting up an alpha-safe facility at Namulonge with the capacity to eliminate aflatoxin contamination in grains. The facility has capacity to clean 5 tons of produce per hour. This will save the country an estimated $38 million per year, which is lost in export rejections due to aflatoxins, and most importantly, save the lives of Ugandans. Madam Speaker, to add value to agricultural produce, government constructed 11 agro-processing and storage facilities to increase opportunities for value addition and access to higher value markets. These include Eruubirira rice processing facility in Bunyangabu, Kasina maize processing facility in Kyenjojo, Kwongera maize processing facility in Kyenjojo, Itojo maize and rice processing facility in Ntoroko, Nombe coffee processing facility in Ntoroko, Apara oil seed processing facility in Alebetong, Gatianga coffee processing facility in Bunyangabu, Akorinmonjin rice processing facility in Katakwi, Kajamaka rice processing facility in Kumi, Chikwata coffee processing facility in Nakaseke, and the Kiwoko maize processing facility in Nakaseke again. Madam Speaker, government is strengthening partnerships with the private sector through Uganda Development Corporation to support local value addition and manufacturing in a wide range of agricultural value chains. These investments include Soroto Fruit Factory, Budadiri Arabic Coffee, Mbale Growers Tea Factory, Mabale Growers Tea Factory, Kayonza Growers Tea Factory, Bukona Agro Processors, Atiaka Sugar Factory, and Yumbe Fruit Factory. Madam Speaker, as a part of the effort to increase access of Uganda's products to international markets, we dispatched the inaugural exports of coffee and milk to Serbia and Algeria, respectively. The milk exports to Algeria have potential to fetch Uganda export earnings worth $500 million. Madam Speaker, I have allocated a total of 1.86 trillion next financial year towards deepening agro-industrialization. These funds will support investments in 1, agricultural research, 2, agricultural inputs including fertilizers, 3, water for irrigation, 4, extension services, 5, agro-processing and value addition, 6, post-harvest handling and storage facilities, 7, inspection, surveillance, certification, enforcement of quality standards, and market access. Now we turn to tourism development. Madam Speaker, Uganda's tourism sector continued to recover with the tourist arrivals increasing by 7.7% to 1,000,037 in 2024 from 1.27 million in 2023. Similarly, tourism earnings grew by 26% to $1.28 billion in 2024, up from $1.02 billion in 2023. Madam Speaker, the following achievements were registered: promoted and marketed Uganda through International Explore Uganda promotion campaign in high-value market segments in USA, Canada, and the United Kingdom. As a result, the year-on-year growth of interest in Uganda by tourists is 33% for the United Kingdom, 19% for Canada, 5% for the USA. Additionally, through the theme, Uniquely Ours, we have promoted domestic tourism. As a result, domestic tourism in national parks increased by 15.7% in 2024 reaching 244,843 visitors. Continue to innovate and modernize tourism products to make them more competitive. This involved maintenance of 1,300 kilometers of trail tracks and roads in tourism protected areas, increasing the cumulative coverage of electric fencing of 177 kilometers in Queen Elizabeth and Murchison Falls National Parks, continued construction of the pier and related infrastructure at the source of the Nile, continuing to upgrade the Uganda Museum and Namugongo Matters shrines, construction of 3,521 meters of climbing ladders and boardwalks on Wenzori Mountains to make hiking safer and fun, completion and commissioning of Kikorongo Equator Monument in Kasese, and the construction of works of Karamoja Museum, which is nearing completion. Government invested in a world-class convention facility in Munyonyo. This has promoted Uganda as one of the regional destinations for meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions. Consequently, Uganda now ranks 7th in Africa in MICE tourism. Madam Speaker, I have allocated shillings 430 billion towards direct investment in tourism next financial year. This is in addition to about 2.2 trillion provided for another tourism support investments such as tourism roads, ICT, infrastructure in tourism areas, African Cup of Nations, AFCON infrastructure, and security strengthening in tourism areas. Madam Speaker, the focus next financial will be on 1, branding and marketing of Uganda as a tourism and investment destination. 2, infrastructure development in tourism sites. 3, construction of refreshment centers and highway sanitation facilities. 4, improving and enforcing hospitality standards and training. And 5, promoting health tourism by investment in specialized health facilities. Madam Speaker, government has also stepped up investment in missions abroad to promote economic and commercial diplomacy. Every mission is now tasked to bring investors and tourists and open up export markets. Mineral-based industrial development, including oil and gas. Madam Speaker, the following achievements were registered this financial year. Government facilitated the establishment of 10 gold refineries, 4 cement manufacturing plants, and 1 tin processing plant, contributing to mineral processing and refining. In the oil and the gas sector, the Telenga and Kingfisher oil projects are on track for first oil production in 2026. An agreement to construct 60,000 barrels per day oil refinery, which will kickstart the petroleum chemical industry, was signed between Alpha MBM from AIE and the Uganda National Oil Company. Once operations start, the oil and the gas sector will contribute between $1 and 2.5 billion annually to the country's revenues. With regard to local content in the oil and the gas industry, more Ugandan companies and individuals have benefited from contracts issued and jobs respectively. Out of 5,693 Tier 1 contracts amounting to a total of value of US dollars 5.4 billion awarded to date, 4,796 contracts, 64%, were Ugandan companies.
84%.
84%, yes, I said that, Mama, were to Ugandan companies amounting to US dollars 2.25 billion. Also, US dollars 33.4 million, equivalent to shillings 121 billion, has been spent on goods and services consumed from the surrounding communities in Bunyoro. More than 14,000 Ugandans have been trained in various technical areas, and so far about 17,000 direct and 39,567 indirect jobs have been created. Kabalega International Airport is nearly complete, and over 700 kilometers of roads have been constructed in the Albertine region to support commercial production of oil and gas. Government is expediting the finalization of the 1,443-kilometer East African crude oil pipeline, EACOP, which is now 58% complete, with engineering works at 98% completion and procurement of the major equipment for the pipeline at 83%. Following INOX commencement of the bulk supply of petroleum products in August 2024, the country has experienced relative stability in supply and pricing. This has been realized due to elimination of the middlemen and speculative tendencies. As a result, Uganda currently saves up to US dollars 72.8 million annually on fuel imports. Madam Speaker, I have provided 875.8 billion next financial year for mineral-based industrial development, including oil and gas, for one, continued qualification of mineral resources, starting with iron ore, gold, and copper, and strengthening their tracking systems. Two, capitalization of the Uganda National Mining Company. Three, establishing mineral markets and buying centers to enable transparent mineral trading. Four, expediting finalization of the East African crude oil pipeline. And five, prioritizing of the construction of the oil refinery and refined products pipeline, among others. Science, technology, and innovation, including ICT and creative industry. Madam Speaker, STI, including ICT and creative arts, provide an important avenue for the country to develop high-tech exports and add new sources of growth and jobs. Madam Speaker, this financial year, the following milestones have been achieved in the development of knowledge economy. One, completed and operationalized the Kira vehicle plant in Jinja. The plant has an annual capacity of 2,500 vehicles. So far, 41 buses have been produced, out of which 29 are electric. The electric buses produced can run up to 500 kilometers when fully charged. The plant has signed a letter of intent to supply more than 3,700 electric buses to West Africa. The plant has signed a letter of intent to supply more than 3,700 electric buses to West Africa. Kira Motors has created 800 jobs and has potential to generate more than 14,000 direct and indirect productive jobs. Invested in vaccine development and commercialization, as well
Those countries, France and Holland and all that. The highly developed Israel, in terms of technology, would find it difficult to survive in that zone without the cover of the United States of America. Some actors in the world talk of achieving superiority in the 4 dimensions: land forces, air forces, at sea, the Navy, and in space. Where does this leave Africa? Are we going to exist or not exist with the permission of others? Are we only to thrive with the permission of others? Coming to multidimensional strategic security, only 4 countries have been to the moon. These are USA, Russia, China, and India recently. Can Uganda manage a serious space program even when it becomes a first world country? As we tried to answer that question, there was already an answer given by our elders before independence. This was Uhuru na Umoja, freedom and unity. The present weaknesses in Africa are partly due to the mistake of arrivism, where the leaders prefer to remain big fishes in small ponds. It was only Mwalimu Nyerere of Tanganyika and Mzee Karume of Zanzibar that consummated the economic and political integration of the 2 countries to create Tanzania that has been a great success. Recently, the Union of Tanzania celebrated 60 years. We congratulate our brothers and sisters of Tanzania. Mbakwebere kumungaro. Economic and political integration where possible are the correct answer